through this little course with you today. It's basically showing you all different parts of business and how you can optimize what you're doing, whether you have a business already or whether you are setting up a business. And as we go, it's very interactive, so I want you to be involved and either speak in the chat box or put your hand up, and then we can hear what you want to say, because this whole the whole beauty of this is the interactive nature. It's not just a lecture. So I really want you to be involved. And if you do have any questions, just let me know, and along the way, if there's anything that's not clear, I will stop at the end of each section and just ask. But just to let you know that it is an interactive workshop, and I'm now going to share my screen so that you can see what we are up to. And let me just find my presentation here. Okay, hope you're all ready. There it is. Okay, so here's our boot camp today. So introduction, Tracy's already done. Now, expectations of today's session. So here's just some from last time. I'll take them away. Tell me, what do you want to get out of today? Is there anything specific that you joined the session for? You can write in the chat, or you can put your hand up and then speak, just to know, what you came here to learn. And there's no such thing as a wrong answer, so don't be shy. Okay, I see in the chat. How to start a business plan. It's Tracy, thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
Hello. Do you have something to add? Does anyone want to give me some more expectations of today? Here's some chats. How to start a business plan, structure of a business plan, how to complete a business plan. Okay, so the structure and where to begin in the structure. Structure. Okay, is there anything else? Let's see. Why a business plan is important. Okay, anything else? I think we can get to, here's how to improve a current business plan. Improve current plan. Okay, so these are the 5 main expectations. If there's anything that we're not getting, I'm sure at the end we can always add to this list, but for now we'll stick to this. So what skills are needed in a business? These are all skills that you'll learn along the way, but basically project management is one of them, and it's the main bulk of what I'm going to show you today is project management. Okay, then communication skills, time management skills, conflict resolution, presentation skills, public speaking skills, and then how to be active citizens and change agents, because this program that I'm going to show you now is something that I've been teaching through the school system for the past 13 years. So we are trying to get young people to understand how they can make positive change even while they're still at school. So it's something I wish I'd learned while I was at school. It would have helped a lot. So you are now learning that very vital information that we should all actually know, but we weren't taught. So don't teach this, okay? So how to write a business plan using our methodology. Can everyone just mute themselves? Someone's unmuted over there. I think. Makhokhodi, I think you're unmuted. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so how to write a business plan using our methodology. So YCAP stands for the Youth Citizens Action Program, and that's the schools program that we run. But as I said, I've been using this for workshops and for SMMEs for a number of years, and it's always been very helpful and very useful. So that is the positive part of this whole process, is that these are skills that you can use from now onwards with anything you do in your life, not only your business. There are things in here that are very, very handy for general use. So these are the 10 or 9 steps that we're going to do. And the first one is how to form and manage a team, then roles and responsibilities, research, identifying the topic or the business and describing it, finding the target market and brainstorming solutions, planning the actions and budgeting, managing the team and doing the actions, showing evidence, proving impact and sustainability, and then talk about it, communication and motivation. So I'm going to go through all of these steps, and after each step I'm going to ask if there are any questions, and then by the end this should all make a lot of sense. Okay, so step 1, how to form and manage a team. So whether you already have a team or whether you're starting out, you do need a team. So even if you are a person you're running your own business, it doesn't mean that you work by yourself. There's going to be some suppliers that you're going to need, or some people you're going to outsource certain elements to. There are always going to be people that you work with. You're not going to be all the time just by yourself, that's it. Even if it's just someone to brainstorm with or to talk through what you're going through, that can be a team. It can be your partner, it can be your children, who knows who it is. But the point is there are people around that you need to work with. And especially in a formal business, there will be a team that you will have to recruit. So how are you going to recruit them? And then how are you going to make your group into a team? So having a group of people that are all working together doesn't mean that they are a good team. The team is how the people that work together are understanding they're on the same page, they're on the same map, the direction they're going in is the same. And also it's about values and respect and all of those things that make it into a team. So that's why that's quite important to get that right from the beginning. And if you're already in a situation, you can always fix it. It's not like it's too late. You can always actually find a way to make your group into a team. And that also involves conflict resolution. So whenever there's people working together, there's bound to be conflict. That's just how life is. But conflict doesn't have to be negative if it's managed in a positive way. So conflict is basically a difference of opinion. But if you manage it in a positive way, then you'll have different opinions, and you can see which ones are opinions that you need to take seriously, or which ones you can talk through, or which ones you can negotiate. You can have discussions about it. It's better to have that than to have people who are too scared to say anything because they don't want to have conflict, or they're scared of you. So that's one thing I want to say about conflict, is that if it is managed properly and in a respectful way, then it's actually not a negative thing. And then working remotely, obviously during COVID times, there was a lot of remote working, and that comes with its own challenges. How do you get a team that has that vibe, that energy, when you're all working in your houses, and you're only working together on technology, you're not actually seeing each other face to face. So that is something you need to think about, how to mitigate that and how to find a way around it. And even if you are working remotely, just to get together, now that things are opening up and, we don't have all of those regulations anymore, you can get together and have a coffee somewhere once a month even, and just have that face to face. That is very important, just that relationship building part of it. So at least that is not as much of a challenge now than it was the last 2 years. Okay, so that's step 1. Do you have any questions or any concerns that you are facing regarding this team management section? It's, as I said, it's very basic. This is only an hour workshop, so we're not going to really go into a lot of detail. But the whole point is that you need to consciously think who you're recruiting. You need to find the right people, and then you need to make them into a cohesive team. So are there any questions before I move on to the next section? I don't see any hands. Okay, so now we're going to step 2. Now you've got the people in your team, but what are they going to do? So which team members should take which roles, especially if you're starting out. Now you can choose which roles. If you already have team members in their roles, it's important to do assessments and to check if they're still in the right roles, or if they need to move to different roles or change responsibilities. Things also change. Just because you started out in a certain way doesn't mean it's going to continue like that. So it's always important to keep monitoring and keep assessing the situation. And then also being clear about what people's responsibilities are, and making sure that it fits what they want to do and what you need them to do. So that is the balancing act, because putting someone in a position just because you need someone there, but this person is not good at that, that's not going to help anyone. So it's important to know what you need done, and then who fits that role very well, and then to discuss it very carefully with the person so that they understand exactly what they are supposed to be doing, and to know what their deliverables are. What do you expect from them? Is it reasonable? Is it practical? Is there anything they need to achieve it, or do they need to go in some kind of training? What is it that you need them to do, and how can they do it to the best of their ability so that everyone is happy? So that is very important. Also, some organizations use timesheets to manage a team. So if you do use that, obviously explain that to the team members so they know exactly what's expected, and monitor them and give any feedback on that. Like for an example, I've got a freelancer, and for the 1 month she billed me for 1,000 Rand, and the next month she billed me for 700, and the next month with 1,000 again. So I had a discussion with her to say, what is the difference between the months? Why is one more than another? She explained it to me. I understood. Great. no misunderstanding, no confusion, move on. But if I didn't question and I didn't look at it, then the end of the year I'd be like, hold on, but this doesn't make sense. And then we could have some kind of conflict about it, which is what we want to discuss before it gets to that point. Because after a year, things are going to be a bit more intense than if you discuss it every month. Things build up and then there can be resentments and all kinds of things. So the whole key is to keep communication open, make sure you have meetings regularly, and that in the meetings you discuss exactly what is going on so that people are all on the same page. By the end of the meeting, everyone is clear. Any questions on roles and responsibilities? No. Okay. So these are the easy steps. We're getting harder as the steps go up. Now we're on research. So this is where the fun part comes. We have 3 different research methods that we recommend. And the first one is the SWOT analysis. So the SWOT analysis is the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The strengths are you can do different SWOT analysis for different things. So you could do one for your organization, your business. So what are the strengths of your business? What are the weaknesses? What are the opportunities that you could have? What are the threats that could destroy your business? And then you can also have a SWOT analysis of your team. Each member in the team, or even the team as a whole, you can have a SWOT analysis and say, what are the strengths of certain people, the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So you can use it for any part, and it's very useful to have that and then to go back and analyze it. As I said, it's not something that you do once and then 10 years' time you come back and you're like, oh wow, we're like totally off track now. So you keep on looking at it. Even once a year, you can go through and say, like, our SWOT analysis, is it still true that this is a weakness? Is it still true that this is a strength? Is it still true that that's an opportunity or that's a threat? Because things can move around. The whole point of this is to make threats into opportunities and weaknesses into strengths, if you can. That is a very positive way of looking at the SWOT analysis. The other way of looking at it is, if there are weaknesses, to make sure that they lessened and they don't turn into threats, and that you use the strengths to create opportunities. So you can see the SWOT analysis is something very useful. The next one is to draw a map of your area or environment and list all the challenges or the gaps in the market on your map. So that is something that you can really use, especially if you are in a situation where it's a physical building or a place that you're working in, your target market is in a specific area or even a specific city or country. You can do a map like that, where you draw, not to scale, not a geography map, but just a little representation of what the area looks like, and then where all the gaps in the market are, or where the opportunities are, or where the threats are, and then everything will be on one page, which is quite handy to see. And then you can actually tell whether your business is in the right area or whether it should be moved. Like, for example, if you have a school and then next to the school is a shebeen, that's not a good match, because now the school children leave school and where do they go? The shebeen, it's right next door. So that is something that's a negative environment. But you could have a situation where there's a stationery shop next to the school, and that's a brilliant place to have a stationery shop because they're always going to need stationery. So your target market is right there. So do you see what I mean by the map being very important? Okay, then the next one, someone's unmuted again. Thanks. The next one is the systemic stairway. Now we're going to use this right now. We're going to do a little practical exercise. So the systemic stairway is how you prioritize your ideas. So you can use this, let's say you have a business already and you have different products, and now you're deciding which products you want to launch first or which ones you want to add in. Let's say you've already got products but you want to add new ones, or if you have one business but you want to start another business. So you can use it in different ways, or you can use it just to discuss, just to finalize things in your own life. Like, where do you prioritize things? What is more important to you? Is doing your master's more important than starting a new business? Or is, looking after your family, being home with your family more important right now than starting a business? So it's a prioritization tool that helps you to understand what should be more urgent or important than the next thing. So it's a very cool exercise, and we're going to do a nice brainstorming session using this systemic stairway right now. By the way, the systemic stairway is from Henley Business School. It's what they use for their master's students. So it's something very high level, but once you understand it, it's really cool. So I'm going to just go here and delete these ones that we had for the last session, because we're going to start a new one now. What I want to know is, what businesses can you think of, any kind of businesses that you think would be lucrative right now? So it could be a new business, a new idea, or it could be an existing business, anything that you want to talk about that we could start right now. If we were all in a team, you are all in my team, and I am now saying to you guys, what kind of business are we starting? So any ideas you have, let me know, and you'll see how the process works. We need at least 10 to start. So please let me know any ideas that come up. You can put in the chat or you can speak if you want. And as I said, no wrong answers. Angela, do you want to say something? Guys, we must have business ideas. We can't be in this workshop if there are no business ideas. Don't be shy. Let me know. It can be anything, basic to fancy. It can be a product or a service. Okay, here's in the chat. Let's see. Recruitment and marketing. Recruitment and marketing. Then we've got some more. Tracy, do you mean marketing and NPO or an NPO being one of the businesses?
One of the businesses.
Okay, so NPO, and then the other one is healthy foods. Okay, we've got 4. We need another, at least we need 10, so we can do this exercise nicely. Okay, some more. Luxury cell phone accessories and cell phone accessories online business. Cell phone. I'm just going to say online. And then the next one was luxury pre-loved shoes and handbags. And business financial planning and bakery. Okay, number 9, plant hire and equipment rentals. And number 10, mechanical. Mechanical what? Can you give me a bit more information about mechanical, like mechanical equipment, or what kind of mechanical? Oh, workshop, mechanical workshop. Mechanics workshop. Okay, so now we've got these items. Now what we need to do, now in your normal brainstorming, what you would do is have little pieces of paper when you're in person, and everyone would write one idea on the piece of paper and not put their names on. So the whole point is to keep it anonymous so that no one can say, oh, that's such a stupid idea. Why did you put that down? You know, because in a team, you don't want people to feel shy. You want them to be confident. So you'd put those little pieces of paper together, then you take them all and put them on the table, and there could be 20 or 30 pieces of paper. I'm just doing 10 now for this workshop. But as I say, when you do this with your team, you can have lots more. And then what you do is you would group them. So things that are similar, you'd put together into a group with a heading. Okay, so what we're going to do now is group them into 5 different headings. So you can now tell me which ones do you think go together. So you can say like number 1 and number 5 go together, as an example. And there might be some that fall off the list because they don't fit anywhere. There might be some that like 3 or 4 of them go into one group. You know, it depends on what you're doing, but we need at least 5 that are going to be standalone items for this exercise. So I think if you look at it, recruitment, do you think that goes with anything else? Does it automatically fit with something, or do you think that recruitment should be a standalone item? So you can vote. Let's see what someone says in the chat. So Philip says number 4 and 8 should go together. So healthy foods and bakery. Okay, so does everyone agree with that? Because the bakery could be a healthy foods bakery. It could be a special bakery that only does very low sugar, low, no gluten, whatever items. Could be that kind of bakery. Or it could be something that we can link with something else. I'm thinking more like a place where you could buy all different things. Like you go to the bakery for your non-healthy stuff, then you go to the health food shop for your healthy stuff, then you go somewhere else for something else. So you could have like a mall, an online mall kind of thing. Like we were talking about the pre-loved shoes and bags, that could be online. The cell phone accessories are online. So there's different ways of grouping these. So I'm just showing you, I'm asking you, does everyone agree with number 4, number 8 being grouped, or do you have other ideas? Let's see. Because you remember, this is about debating. This whole brainstorming and the debating is what makes your brainstorming more successful. So that's what's very interesting. Okay, so someone agrees with 4 and 8 being a group, and someone else says 4, 5, and 6 could all be online. So 4, 5, and 6, which is healthy foods, cell phone, and luxury pre-loved shoes. That's what I was thinking, could all be online. That is possible, yes. Then 6 alone, so the luxury pre-loved things could also just be by themselves. Or the first one should be alone. So I'm going to say, please leave recruitment by itself, doesn't mix with anything. Others are agreeing that 4 and 8 go together, and others say 4, 5, and 6 go together, and 9 can all be online. So 4, 5, and 6, the healthy food, the cell phone, the luxury goods, and the plant hire can be online. I suppose, yeah, the rentals, you can do rentals online, you book it online. But the actual business obviously is going to be in person. And someone else says 4, 5, 6, and 8. So healthy food, cell phone accessories, pre-loved shoes and goods, and bakery should all be together. Okay, so I think the first thing we agree on is that recruitment definitely needs to be standalone. So let's do that. Our first one is recruitment. Okay, then we're going to have an online store for, I think the cell phone accessories definitely is already online. The luxury goods, I'm just going to say goods as a shortening. Those definitely go together. I'm not sure about the others yet. So let's just see, because we need 5, remember. So let's not put everything together in one thing. Okay, so 3, I think that healthy foods could be a standalone, or we could put them with the bakery. So let's put them together now. And we can always move it. Okay, then number 4, I'm thinking the plant hire and the mechanics could go together. Don't you think number 9 and 10 go together? I think so. They're very similar. And then number 5, I think the financial planning and the marketing could go together. Because you could offer different services for businesses. I'm going to say finance. Finance and marketing services. Okay, so we've got 5 there. Does anyone have any violent objections to the way that I've put this together? As I said, I just want them all to be different. You know, you can't have things that are too similar as different numbers. So I think in this way you can see they're all very different. And the ones that are similar are grouped together. Does everyone agree with that? Are you happy with it? Or you have any other suggestions? Okay, no one say anything, so I assume that is everyone is happy. Okay, now the very interesting part of this whole process comes into play. So what we need to do, I'm going to take these out because that was last exercise. Okay, so what we're doing now is we are going to compare each one, and we're going to come up with a ratio at the end. Now the ratio is then going to lead to the next part of the exercise. So if you have a piece of paper and you want to draw it with me, you can. Or you can just listen to what I'm saying. It's difficult, I don't have that whiteboard thing where you can draw on the screen, so you won't be able to see it. But if you draw these little blocks there, you can draw 1 block at the top and then 2 underneath and then 2 underneath that. So it makes a bit of a star shape, if you can see where the lines are. And then now what we're going to do is add arrows. So the first one, the yellow one, is going to be recruitment. The green one is going to be the online store. A turquoise one is a healthy food. I'm just putting summarized words here. And then the plant higher here, which you know from the slide before what it stands for. And the navy blue is the marketing and financial services. Okay, that's a long one. Anyway, so those are the different blocks. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you, and I need you to vote between 1 and 2. So if you are recruitment, which is the yellow block, which one in this day and time do you think will be more profitable to do now, recruitment or the online store that has the cell phone, the luxury goods, and whatever else we have? So would you start a recruitment business or an online store? So you vote between 1 or 2. Which one is more important, more urgent to start with? Okay, I've got some in the chat. Everyone's saying number 2, so that was easy. So what you do is, number 2 is the green one. You're going to draw the arrow going out of the green one into the yellow one, which is the same as the example on the picture there. So the arrow that goes out is the one that means that the block that it's coming out of is more urgent or important. Okay, so that is the key thing. I'm just writing on my piece of paper here, which you can't see, unfortunately. If I had a whiteboard, I'd be doing it in front of you. Okay, so that is the arrow that's going out. Now what we need to do is we need to compare between the recruitment and the healthy food. Which one do you think is going to be more profitable right now? So more needed, more necessary, more profitable, more urgent. Which one between recruitment and healthy food? So between number 1 and number 3. Number 1 or number 3? Okay, let's see. Okay, we've got a mixed response here. Let's count how many we have. Okay, so 1, 1, 1, 1. There's 4 ones. Yeah, 1 has beaten 3. So the arrow is going to go from recruitment to healthy food. Now remember, when you're doing this in your team, you can debate this. You don't have to just take it as yes, fine. You can say to the person who chose 1, please explain to me why you chose 1. You can ask the person who chose 3, why did you choose 3? And then people might change their votes, especially if there's a tie. Okay, so for now, we're going to say that recruitment is more urgent or important than healthy food right now. Okay, now between recruitment and plant hire. So recruitment, number 1, and plant hire, number 4. Looks like a tie. We need 1 more to make the final decision. Whoever says 1 or 4 next will be the winner. So between recruitment and plant hire, 1. Okay, so recruitment has beaten plant hire. So the arrow will go from recruitment to plant hire. Okay, then between recruitment and marketing or finance services. So number 1 and number 5. We've got a 1. Okay, we've got a 1. A 5. 5. 1. It's a tie. The last person to vote will be the deciding one. 1 or 5? 5. Okay, so 5 has beaten 1. So the arrow is going from marketing to recruitment. Okay. Now we've finished with the recruitment block. Now we're going to go to the online store. So the online store, between online store and healthy food, which one is going to be more lucrative? The online store that has the cell phones, the clothing, we love clothing, compared to the healthy food. Healthy food and bakery and all that. Which one? Number 1 or number 2 or number 3? We want 1 vote for number 2. Number 2, number 2. Okay, I think number 2 has won. So then that means that there's an arrow from the online store to the healthy food. Okay, now between the online store and the plant hire, number 2 and number 4. Now remember, plant hire can be for construction, can be for factories, manufacturing. So it's quite versatile, and it is lucrative if you do it properly, compared to the online store, which is more for consumer to consumer, whereas the plant hire is more business to business. So which one would you vote for over here? Okay, number 4, number 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2. I think 4 is winning here. I'm just trying to see where it ended from the last round, because they're at the same time. So there's 3 4s, 4 4s. I think 4 has won this round. So plant hire is going to be an arrow out of plant hire to online store. Okay, now we're going to move on to plant hire. So between plant hire and marketing or finance. Wait, before we go there. Between healthy food and plant hire. Healthy food and plant hire, which one? Which one would you vote for? 4 or 3? We've got to vote for 4. 2 votes for 4, 4, 4. Okay, 4 is 1. So arrow goes from plant hire to healthy food. Now between plant hire and marketing or finance. So number 4 or 5. Got a 4, 4. Okay, number 4 is 1. So from plant hire, the arrow is going to marketing or finance. And then between marketing and finance and online store. So number 2 or number 5. 2, 2, 2. Okay, so online store is beating marketing and finance. And then the last one is between marketing and finance and healthy food. So 3 or 5. 5, 5. Okay, so far it's only 5. So then we're going to do the arrow from number 5 to number 3. So then you should have a picture that looks like that one above, that has the triangle, the star in the middle, and then lines on the outside, and all of them should have an arrow going in a certain direction. So now we're going to see what the ratios are. So the ratio is basically the arrow going out is the first number, and then a colon, and then the number going in, as you see in the picture. So the number going out of recruitment, there's 2 arrows going out, and there's 2 arrows going in. So it's 2 colon 2. Okay. For online store, there are 3 going out and 1 going in. For healthy food, there's none going out and there's 4 going in. For plant hire, there's 3 going out and 1 going in. For marketing finance, there's 1 going out and 3 going in. So let's write this over here. So for the first one, it's 2, 2. For this one, it is 3, 1. This one is 0, 4. This one is 3, 1. And this one is 1, 3. So now you take the one that has okay, so let's just take this out. Okay, so The one with the highest numbers that went out is the one that goes to the bottom of the staircase. Okay, so if you look here, we've got a tie. We've got the online store and the plant hire. So you can choose which one. It doesn't really make a difference, but they're both going to be at the bottom of the ladder, the staircase ladder. So online store and plant hire are going to be here at the bottom. So the green and the turquoise. Online store and plant hire. You could have swapped them around, it's fine because they're tied. Then the next one was recruitment, because that was 2. So recruitment is the next one. Then the next one, if you look over here, was the marketing and financial services. And then the last one was 04, which is healthy food and bakery. Now let me explain to you how this works and why it's so interesting. Every time we do this exercise, we get totally different business ideas, and it always works out in the end into such an interesting way of doing things. So now imagine you are Richard Branson, kind of serial social entrepreneur who has different businesses and different industries all operating at the same time. So if you were him and you were doing this exercise, you could start all these businesses, and you could start them at different times, or you could start them at the same time. But what I'm saying is they're all diverse. But the thing is, they could all fit together in a certain way. So let's look at them and see how that would work. So this online store, which is for clothing and for cell phone. So I think it's great that the first thing we start with is the online store, because it is so much easier and cheaper to start an online store than the number 2 one, which is the plant hire. So the online store is going to be something you have to set up virtually. You don't need office space for it. It's going to be sourcing that secondhand clothing. Remember, it's pre-live. So sourcing that, sourcing the cell phone accessories, and then putting together a website, marketing it, getting people to buy. So that business can start. It's not going to be a huge thing compared to number 2. So I think that is a good one to have at the bottom level. So we start with that one. Then we decide, okay, now we want to do plant hire. Now remember, there's different ways of doing plant hire. We could already have someone who already has the plant, and all we do is make bookings for people to use the plant, because it's hiring of the plant. It's not us actually having our own plant. So you could do that. So there's different ways. You could have your own plant where you set everything up yourself, which is going to be much more work. Or you can you can be the middleman. You can be like the agent that sorts out who is going to use the plant and when. Okay, so that could actually become an online thing. Remember, someone said in the chat earlier that they wanted plant hire to be under online. So that could also work. Once your online store is set up, you could have different sections to it. There's a consumer section, there's a business section, and then in the one section can be plant hire. And then you would have the relationship with the plant, and you would have the booking set up from your side for businesses. You would market to them, and they would say, I need the plant from Monday to Thursday next week. And then you negotiate the price and everything is done. So that could be very interesting as a next business, right? Plant hire. Then we have the link number 2, which is the dark blue one, which is recruitment. So now we need to have a section where businesses can recruit, or people can recruit staff, either for their own businesses, or you can even use it to recruit people for your current businesses, because recruitment, you need it for everything. So recruitment could also be done online. You could do that. You could have Zoom interviews. You can have a special portal where people upload their CVs, like LinkedIn does. So recruitment could definitely fit into this whole model of online. And then look, number 3 is marketing and finance. You could also have that as online, as a service where you could help people to book a marketing person on your online store, where they could say, this is the problem, I need a brochure designed, and then you'll say, okay, great, here are the 4 suppliers, and they all quote you, and then you choose the best one and you go with that, and you go and get your marketing done. Or the finance as well, you could choose from different financial providers. They could all have their adverts there, and you can choose which one you want and then get an agent's fee for setting that up for them. So this could all be done online eventually. And then the outcome, basically, once you reach the top of that ladder, which is the yellow one, is the healthy food and bakery. So the healthy food and bakery could also be an online sales where you could order all your stuff online. It can be delivered to you, and that can also be outsourced. So you don't have to personally set up the healthy food store and the bakery. You can have other businesses that are there, and you just become the middleman. So all of this could be done online by the end of it. Okay, and that's just an idea. You don't even have to do that. You can do them all physically if you want to. But if you look at how this whole thing worked out, imagine we'd started off with the healthy food and bakery, if that was number one in the bottom level. How would that have linked to all these others to get to the point of the outcome, which is the final one? It wouldn't have been such a clear progression. So that's why I love this model. We would never have come up with this if we didn't use this model. It wouldn't have made sense in our minds. Maybe it would have eventually, but it wouldn't have been as easy to figure out how these things could work together and could link. So what you could do, you could say, look, number one is the one that we've chosen, and we're just doing that. That's it. We're doing the online store for the pre-loved clothing and the cell phone. That is what we're doing. And that's it. You don't have to do the rest. Or you could say we're going to start with that, and as time goes on, we're going to add the other things. Or you can say we're just going to do 1 and 2. Like, you can use this however you want. But the point is your thinking now is clearer. It makes more sense in your mind to see it in this kind of model. Okay? Does anyone have any questions about it? Does it make sense to you? You know, it's something that you have to work with a few times to get comfortable with it. But once you do, it's actually quite eye-opening. Like, I always love this part of it where it all fits together. Like, if you look at the example that we have there for the schools program, number one there was learners are hungry. So if we had number one there as academic performance being a problem, how would we have gone from that to get to the top of, let's say, learners are hungry? It doesn't make sense. The first thing you have to solve is the learners are hungry. If they're hungry, they're not going to learn. They're not going to do well academically. So it's a no-brainer, but you wouldn't have thought of that unless you did this process. So the learners being hungry, you have to solve first. Then you have to solve the problem of no textbooks. Then you have to solve the problem of drug abuse. Then the absenteeism issue. If you're not there, you're not going to learn. And then if you solve all of those 4 things, the final outcome is academic performance improves automatically. If you do those 4 things, then the academic performance will improve. So that's what I'm saying. It can be used in different ways. So that is our tool. If anyone has any questions, you can always let me know. But that is the third research step. And let me just show you the map that I was talking about. So this is an example of a map. So this is a school map, but you could do a community, you could do a city. As I said, you can use it for anything. And what they've said here is next to each thing, what happens. So in the grade 11 classroom, there's bad behavior, there's no discipline, there's absenteeism, there's no science lab, there's no library. In the grade 10 classroom, there's not enough textbooks, not enough desks. So you can see at a glance all the issues and where they happen. So you could use this as a map and say, here's a gap. You know, this is a community, and there on the side there's no stationery shop, and there's a school nearby. Let's build a stationery shop. Like, that is our business. So you see what I'm saying? It can be used in different ways. Okay, so there's the stairway, and now we are moving on to the 4th step. So I hope everyone got something out of that exercise. Step 4, identifying the idea and describing it. So let's say we decided to do that bottom one, which is the online store. So we're now choosing the idea, the online store. So now we're going to describe that in full detail. Now we're going to do baseline research. So we're going to see what are the online stores that operate right now. So you'd look at things like Take-A-Lot and Amazon or whatever else there is, online stores. You do your research. So this is where you actually go and look at real life examples. What online stores are out there? And then you see what is the gap, what is needed, what is not available already, or what can we make better? What can we improve on so that people want to use our online store and not another one? So that is a whole research process that you would go through, and that will be your starting point. Okay, so you'd find out what's there, what competitors are there, what is needed, what gaps are there, all of that. Okay, so that's step 4. Step 5 is brainstorming the solutions and finding the target markets. So the target market is not only your customer. The target market is also who you're going to target for your, let's say you're doing the online store now, where you're going to get these pre-loved clothes from. Maybe your customer is the person buying the pre-loved clothes, but who are you going to get them from? So that's another target market. Who are you going to get the pre-loved clothes from? The cell phone accessories, where are we going to get them from? So those are all markets you need to look at and see who are the best markets where we can find them. And then what kind of message do we need to entice them to be part of this? What kind of method would you use to communicate with them? Would it be online? Would it be in person? Would it be an advert, a survey? What would you do to get hold of this target market? And then brainstorming for solutions. So in your team, you would practice listening, conflict resolution, leadership, and you would come up with different ideas of how to get this online store off the ground. So remember, during the phase before, we were just thinking of what the idea was. Now we're thinking of how we're going to make this a reality. So it's the next phase. So we use a thing called the 6 thinking hats, which is by Edward de Bono. I don't know if you guys have heard of Edward de Bono. It's a very useful methodology. It's not real hats. You don't have to go buy hats. It's basically a hat, like a metaphorical hat that you would wear while doing the brainstorming, so that each person can be thinking of a different element while they're doing the brainstorming. So if it's just you, then you can sit and wear that hat and do all of the elements to do with that hat, and then close that section off and wear the next hat and do the next section. So you don't have to have 6 people sitting there. But if you do have, then that's even better. So what you would do here is you'd say blue hat. Okay, so now let's say in this meeting, I'm wearing the blue hat. So my whole thing is process and planning. So what is the process and what is the planning that we are going to use to do this business, okay? The next one is the white hat. So that's the facts, the data, the research. So all of those elements. The green hat is the creativity, or the alternatives, the possibility. So green is all about creativity. The yellow hat is the benefits, the logic, how and why the idea works. Okay. The red hat, feelings, intuition. The red hat, and then the black hat is the risks. Okay, so the risk is very important, because if you don't know what the risks are, how are you going to stop them from happening? You're not. Okay, so there's the red hat. Let me just write the black hat is the risks, cautions. So let's discuss this. Does anyone have any ideas? If we were in the room, I'd assign you each a hat and you wouldn't have a choice. But right now you have a choice, so you can think, if you want to be blue hat, what ideas would you have for blue hat? White, green, yellow, red, black. Okay, so someone has said, brainstorming alone is highly ineffective. Conversely, with others, it's exceptionally effective. Yes. So obviously it would be much better to have other people in the room to brainstorm, even if it's your partner, your friend, your cousin. If you don't have a team around you that's working the business, it is better to have other people. You could also do it online if you don't want to do it in person. That is obviously the best. But if you can't, then at least do your own one, so that you yourself think of each of these elements. And then after that, you can get other people to have input as well. So there are ways around it. But the whole point is to come up with all of these different sections. You can't leave any out. Because if you only do, let's say you're a very creative person and you love designing things and thinking of pretty ways of doing things and all of that, and you just focus on green hat and forget about all the others, your business is not going to work, because you need the other things to make it happen. You need to think of the process and the planning. What process are we going to follow to get this off the ground? You know, what facts and data do we need to know? What benefits do we see in this whole project? You know, why does this idea work? What about the risks? You know, if you're a green hat person and you don't like thinking of the negative stuff, then what are you going to do when there's a risk that comes up? You're not going to have even thought of it, because it's not part of your normal thinking. So that's the point of this exercise, is to think of things that are not your usual strength, and to think of ways of dealing with all of those things before they happen. So let's say a risk of the online store. So the risk of the online store is people don't buy, people don't come to the store. That's a risk. It's a risk, okay? Another risk would be competitor steals our ideas. So we have to think of ways to mitigate these risks. The facts, data, and research. So we have to research the competitors. Who are the competitors? We have to research who our customers would be and how to contact them, how to reach them, what would make them excited about what we're doing. Okay, does anyone have any other ideas? Process and planning. What kind of blue hat thinking would you use for the online store? Process and planning. What do we need to know? The process and planning, we have to know what platform we're going to use. We have to plan which platform. Find a platform. That's a part of the process. If we don't have a platform to sell stuff, how are we going to do it? Then we have how it works, best platform to choose from. Exactly. So we had the same idea at the same time. So find a platform which is the most cost effective. We have to plan, when is the best time to launch. let's say Christmas is coming up. We know people are going to go shopping online. That's a good time to launch just before Christmas. It's not a good time to launch in January when no one has money. That's an example of a process and a plan that you need to come up with. And this is going to be more formalized, not just in a bullet point like this. It's going to be proper documents that you're going to put together. The green hat for creativity, we're going to have something special, a special loyalty program. This is just coming out of my head now. See, I'm brainstorming by myself. So a special loyalty program, like a vitality type of thing, but for online stores that no one else has ever done. Okay, something very different that we're going to come up with that's going to make people really want to use our platform. The yellow hat, what are the benefits and the logic? So the benefits is that we have secondhand, pre-loved items that are luxury, not just the usual kind of, charity shop kind of stuff. Although some of that is luxury, but not all of it. So ours is all luxury. Okay, so example. So those are the benefits. And then the red hat intuition, we just have a feeling about this. Sometimes you just have a feeling and you have to trust that and then go with it. Okay, how it works, best platform, and then how to reach the target market. So we have to... Someone is unmuted. Unless you want to say something. Okay. The green hat creativity could also be that we have special a special look and feel of our site. It's totally different to everyone else's. Benefit, we're the Instagram generation, so the power of influence. So the power of influence. Benefit. Okay, so the benefit is here, the yellow one. So the Instagram power of influence. So we can use influencers to help us to market our new online store. Yes, we can. Correct. Thank you, Lindiwe and Odessa. Anyone else have anything to add? Okay, so you get the idea. So you would sit down and you would come up with these ideas, and it would just open up those different thought processes. And then what you do after that is a more formalized part. So this is the planning and budgeting. So now you're going to draw up an action card that's going to explain what needs to be done, what resources are needed, how much time is needed, and if any budget is needed at this stage. You also need to manage your time, put together a budget, and plan your fundraising or sales campaign. So depending on what you're doing, if it's fundraising or sales or any kind of money that you need, how are we going to do that? So here's an action card. So if you look at this action card, it's very straightforward, all in one place. It tells you what action needs to be taken, which people are going to do it, what resources information do we already have, and what resources information do we still need, how much time we need to do it, how much money we already have, and how much money we need. So for an example, for the online store, the action is we need to find the pre-loved luxury goods, okay? So we need to do that. Which people are going to do it? If we have someone in our team that is devoted to that, we put their name there, okay? Resources information we have. So we know that there is a luxury goods market, and we know, let's say we know which areas they are in, or we know where to get them. But what information or resources do we need? So we need to have internet, we need to have a computer, we need to have brochures, we need to have price lists, whatever it is that we need to have, okay? Then the time cost, how long will it take us? It will take us, let's say, 2 months to find where these suppliers of the luxury goods will be, or how we're going to recruit them, okay? What money do we have? So we already have a budget, because let's say we have our own investment that we've got from another business that we had, so we're going to use that for that part of it. And the money we need, okay, so we don't have enough of that, so we need to still get another whatever amount, and we're going to use a bank loan for that, or we're going to get a friend to lend us money, or whatever it is. So this is basically the little table that you'll put together that will explain what you're going to do. And it's going to be a lot of tables because it's for each section. So you'd label each one at the top with a heading and say, this is for the online store research part. This is for the, setup of the platform. This is for the, there's all different sections, and you'll put action cards for each one. So someone is saying a Gantt chart. Yes, you can use a Gantt chart as well. Yeah, this is just one methodology. If you have another way of doing it that is more suitable, then go for it. I'm not saying it's the only way, but it is a very simple and effective way, especially when you're starting out and you don't have money to invest in fancy ways of doing things, or you don't have access to other resources. You can start with this. And then you can move on to things like Microsoft, those SharePoint or something, where you can work with other people and do everything online, and you have to pay a fee for that. So that's why I'm not mentioning it right now, because sometimes you don't have budget to spend on those things. But as time goes on, you do get budget you can formalize, and you can get all kinds of, there's monday.com and all of those productivity platforms that you can look at once you set up. Managing the team and doing the actions. So now you've got your action card, but now you have to make sure that the team members are doing what they're supposed to do by the deadlines. So what you also want to show is how the action plan changed during implementation. Sometimes you'll think that something will take a certain amount of time and it actually takes longer, or maybe the person doing it's not the right person and have to be changed, or you have to add someone to the team. So there are different things that you need to look at, but accountability and responsibility is easier when you use something like this, which is going to be used in every meeting that you have. So in the minutes, you'll have a little table like this, which says what needs to be done, who's going to do it, what's needed, and by when. And you can do more fancy versions of this. As I said, this is the basic version, and you will use those other platforms if you want to pay for them. But for now, this is a very simple way of doing it. So what needs to be done, and you list that there in the meeting, so the person involved is 100% sure of what they're going to do. Who's going to do it, put their name there, what's needed, what resources do they need to do this, and by when, so there's a deadline. And then in every meeting, you can go back to that piece of paper or that item on your computer and check if they are on track. So this way you can manage the team and make sure everyone's doing what they need to do and keeping to the deadlines. And if they're not and they have a challenge, you can discuss it in an open way and not have any finger pointing or any complaints that are going to be negative, because it's all laid out here and it's a very easy way to manage it. Okay, then changes from planning to action. Sometimes you have a plan that's beautiful in theory, and then in action it doesn't really work. So for example, with the one that I was saying just now, let's say your deadline was 2 months and now it's already in the 3rd month and you're not anywhere near finished. So you'll have to say, no, we need to extend the deadline to 4 months because we're not managing to meet the time limit. Or maybe you need to add more money, or maybe you need to add more resources or more people to the team, or change the action to something else. So these things will change. That's the whole point. Like the whole thing of a business plan, that big wad of paper that you put together, that's what people think is a business plan. It's this big thing you put together in the beginning of your business, and then you use it as a doorstop the rest of the time. Like you don't even look at it again. That's not the kind of business plan that we're talking about. We're talking about a business plan that is flexible and adaptable and is used in your day-to-day running of the business, and is, checked on all the time, so that you don't have a situation where 5 years down the line, your product is obsolete, you haven't adapted to the times, everything's moved online and you're still working, in person, whatever, you have to keep up to date. These things are not static. They don't just get done and then you tick that off the list, we've got a business plan. Yes, the first plan will be something that is, quite rigid. But as I say, you don't leave it like that. You start working on it and you start changing it as time goes on and as you do the business, because things change. As you saw with COVID, the world changed. No one saw it coming. But at least if you had a business plan that was adaptable, you could be agile and change quickly and not be stuck in the old ways of the past. So that is what the key is of this business plan workshop. And step 8 is showing evidence, proving impact and sustainability. So this is where you're going to look at your baseline, which is where you started, to say this is what we wanted to do. And then you look at where you are now and you say, what has changed? What has actually happened? Have we made progress? Are we on the right track? Or is there something we need to change? Do we need to change direction? Do we need to think of something else? So you need to analyze this. So evidence could be, the stats, the financials, the surveys. It's you doing market research, surveys to see how everything is going. Look at your analytics on your website to see how many people have come to look at your website, how many people have actually bought on your website, how many have come back again to buy repeat purchases. So, you want to analyze all of that and keep it up to date so that you can check if things are actually going in the right direction. So when you start out, let's say you have a launch and you have lots of people coming to your online store because there's all these specials and it's great, and then a month later and 3 people are left. So you need to think about how you're going to manage that and keep people coming back and have repeat customers. If you have a customer that never comes back, let's say 10 people buy this month, the next month, well, let's say in 6 months, because people don't buy every month, but maybe in 6 months, not even one of those 10 have come back to buy. You have to think about why, and you have to do your research and see what is the problem. That's why companies are spending fortunes on data. All of these surveys that people send out, like wherever you go and stay somewhere, they send you a survey. How was your stay? Please rate it, please rank it. All of those things are because they want to keep on track and make sure that they're not falling behind and they're not losing out on customers. They could be repeat customers, because that is the key, is to get customers that come back every time, and then new customers as well. But if you only have new customers, it's much harder to have a sustainable business. So having people who stay as your core and then having new ones coming is what you want. So how you check that is your evidence, and then you check against your targets, and you see if you're actually getting towards the target or you're not. And that's what you need to do all the time. So monthly, quarterly, yearly, you need to analyze these things and make sure that things are on the right track. And if they're not, what are you going to do about it? So that is key. And then step 9, which is the last step we're going to talk about today, that is talking about it. So the communication and motivation. What is the point of having this online store if no one knows about it? No one's going to come if they don't know about it. So you need to have a marketing plan, communication plan, make sure that your internal and external communication are separate. Have whoever's a spokesperson, have them trained so they don't say the wrong thing and confuse everyone. Reputation is key. You can have a reputation built over years and it can break in 1 minute. So make sure you have a PR strategy, you have risk management. If anything goes wrong, what are you going to do about it? Let's say someone bought a luxury item from you, and like this actually happened. Someone told me yesterday, they bought something from one of the online clothing stores, and in the box with their clothes was a little note saying, "Help me." So that means that obviously the factory worker is being treated badly. It's like slave labor kind of thing. And they were telling the person buying the garment that they need help. You don't want that to happen. But if it does, what are you going to do about it? So thinking about those risks, like the black hat risks that I was mentioning, you need to have that in your communication as well. Because if that happens, you don't have time to go and think about what you're going to do. You have to have a plan in place. So whether it's a PR agency that you have appointed that's going to help you with that, that's on standby, or whether you have a policy that you've already got written, whatever it is that you need to have ready to mitigate any risk that you might have. Word of mouth is key. If you have people writing on your social media negative things, you need to respond quickly. I'll give you an example. I had a bad meal at Nando's. I sent a tweet. They responded very quickly. They phoned me. They found out what the problem was. And they never came back to me after that. So what is that? That is bad marketing, because they were very quick to respond, but obviously their communication trail dropped in the middle and it never got resolved. It's just left there in limbo. So make sure you don't do that, because then you're going to have a lot of customers complaining all the time on social media. Your ratings are going to go down and you're not going to get anyone buying from you. So that is key. This step 9, very important these days, especially with social media. Okay, so that's the end of the planning process. Now the company profile. So you'd put together a profile that is more like a summary of this business plan as well. So this will be a very short document, 2 or 3 pages, and you make it look pretty, and it will explain the professional summary of the business and its activities. It will have your business details, when you began, what the company name is, when they were established, the physical address, the phone numbers, websites, email, all of that. And then the company basics. So depending on your business type. Some might not apply to your company, so you'll choose the description of the business, including the vision or mission, product descriptions, services, history, expansion and growth, public relations, as I mentioned, advertising. So if you have had any advertising, you can put pictures of that in there. Industry information, safety, health, the POPI, all of those environmental policies that you've got, just mentioning that you have them. Core team details, client portfolio, especially if you have very nice clients that are well known, definitely very important. And then highlights, so any awards, certificates, special programs or projects, testimonials, very important. As you see these days, testimonials are very, very looked at. People trust testimonials more than anything else, so it's key to have that. News or media recognition, and then optional items, you can put annual sales, financial targets, number of employees, partners, photographs, etc. So that will be the company profile. That looks like a little brochure, and you can use that for your client meetings, any kind of investment that you need. That comes with you everywhere. It's a marketing document. But the business plan stays at the office, and that's an internal document that you use for your analysis of how you're doing and your planning and all of that. But the company profile is something that's more a marketing document for external communication. So that will not have all of the negative stuff that you've been dealing with, like this, let's say a CCMA case with one of your staff. That's not going to go in the company profile. You will discuss that and everything, but that does not leave the office building. So just to be careful of who you let talk to the media and what they say, so that doesn't get to be a risk, okay? Then the conclusion, so we hope that you learned many valuable skills today that you can use practically. And remember that planning is key, but you always need to be flexible and ready to change your plans in order to stay relevant and profitable, especially now as our economy is not great. Okay, so that is the end of our presentation. I hope that you learned something, even if there's one thing that you've taken from today that you can use. I'll be happy about that. I'm sure there's more than one, but at least if there's one that's made sense to you and maybe gave you an aha moment, then that's good. Now let's go back to our expectations and see, did we cover these things? Does anyone want to tell me, did we cover how to start a business plan? Or where to begin? You can put the numbers of things that we've covered. The structure of the business plan, why a business plan is important, and how to improve a current plan. Anyone can say anything, even if you want to talk, if you want to unmute and give a little chat about it, you can. So everyone's saying yes in the chat. Oh, yes, definitely. That's even better than a yes. Thank you, Neliswa. So I think it's made it more practical, insightful. Thank you, Mapolo, for insightful. It's a very practical thing. I don't see this whole point of a big, thick document that you put together that sounds all fancy, but no one knows what it means. No one understands it. No one even looks at it. That to me doesn't make sense. Why do you have that thing? So at least here, it's something that you can think about and grapple with and understand. And that's going to be much more useful to you than that big document that no one reads. Yes, indeed. Thank you for very practical indeed. Definitely thank you. Okay, so it seems like we can say yes to all of these things. Say yes, 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 and yes. And remember, this is a process. As you do it, you get to understand different elements. Like talking to you now about it is one thing, but when you start doing it yourself, you're going to get other ideas and other insights from actually going through it and doing it. So my suggestion is read through these notes. I'm going to send this presentation to Tracy and she'll send it to you with the recording. So go through these notes in the next week, at least, before it becomes, lost in your mind. And just try and do some of the exercises, even with your family, just for fun, or with your friends if you don't want to do it with your team, just to understand how it works. And then from there, it will start to make more sense. Like, don't leave it for a year and then come back to it and be like, what was that thing again? The stairway? I don't know. How does this work? Just practice a little bit so that it becomes part of you. And then you can use it more confidently in your meetings with your team. Now, don't go to your team tomorrow and start trying to do this where you don't understand it yet properly. That is my suggestion. So I hope that you learned a lot and that you enjoyed the workshop. And I wish you all the best with your endeavors and have a lovely end of August day. Thank you, Tracy.